Dead Season 1 Episode 1 thoughts. This episode is called Days Gone By. Yeah, really loved this episode. Gonna be spoiling the entire episode. It's been a while since I started a new show. I forgot how to do these. And yes, the episode is rated TV 14. Okay, I thought it was gonna be 16. Okay. Wow, they could really get away with a lot. Anyway, yes. So will this video be? Yeah. Yes, we're doing a new show. This was requested by my friend, longtime subscriber, supporter, frequent commenter, Arts Cafe. He has actually been supporting me for 7 years, and he first requested that I do this show 15 years ago. I'm just kidding. Seriously though, sorry it took so long. Glad I finally got around to it. And yeah, really loving it so far. Let's see, where to start. This does a lot of things that I really love. I understand, I know very few spoilers for this show, but I understand that over the course of it, there are a number of characters that we come across. I appreciate that in this we don't meet that many, and we only like dive deep into just a few. You know, really, like, I feel like by the end of this episode, I have a decent idea of who Rick and Shane are, as well as me and names. I swear I mean no disrespect. The guy and his kid that were in the house that watched, you know, the boy's mother turn, I guess, are pretty much the ones that I feel like I know. There's a few faces that, you know, yeah, we briefly see, but we don't like really get to know them. Some pilot episodes, because they're so excited about getting to work with all these characters, they'll try to fit in a lot of characters. Sometimes that can work, you know, but I really think they made the right choice here. Like, by far, the character we spend the most time with is Rick, and it's very, like, we can really get into the conflict that he is facing, you know. Like, this thing of just, he knew that Lori needed more than what he was giving, and he felt, you know, there was some resentment there, and, you know, yeah, now he feels confident. You know, he needs to believe that they're still out, that they're alive, that he can be there for them, you know. And yeah, like, it's very, you can very quickly as an audience member get behind that, you know. Like, even if I hadn't already decided I was going to watch this entire show, like, yeah, this would definitely have sold me on it. I really want to see him reunited with his family. I too need to see that, you know. Like he needs to experience it, I need to see it. And let's see, then we have the yeah, so that covers the characters. Yeah, I'll you know, one of the major draws for a show like this is, of course, the whole, you know, violence and gore factor. I think they handle it incredibly well. There is, it's one of those things, if you have too little of it in something like this, the gore hounds are going to be like, boring, snooze fest, I'm going to watch something else. And, you know, it's not going to have the, you need something like this to feel visceral, because this is a zombie apocalypse. You know, this is not like, oh, I tripped and fell. This is like, yeah. And you gotta have enough that it's like brutal and feels immediate, feels like a very clear threat to the characters. And I think they nail that. You gotta be careful not to push it into just numbing territory, and I think they did. Yeah, they managed to keep it from that part where he walks and you see all these bodies. I love that they didn't keep showing it for too long. They you know, after a little while they cut and we see just like there's got to be dozens of bodies there. If they had filmed every single one of them the way that they, you know, just panned across instead of eventually cutting to a wide shot, it would have reached self-parody, you know. Just fantastic job, and I love how much of it is practical. I'm actually not 100% sure if anything was digital. They're at the very end, like, could they really pull the camera out that far without ever resorting to digital? I don't know. Please let me know in the comments if you have the answer. I would love for it to be practical, and I don't blame them if they had to go digital. But yeah, like, when we see a walker, the facial makeup, holy crap, like the exposed, nasty, gnarly teeth, and like blood and the wounds, like, just holy crap. This is one of those shows where you know a few minutes in if this is going to be your kind of show or very much not. Like, I feel like that bit at the start, which I really appreciate. I think, you got to be careful with starting in media res. It can really alienate audiences, and it can sometimes, in the wrong hands, feel like, oh wow, you really don't trust the audience to actually get to that point before. But here it works 100%. You see him driving, Rick driving. You see like a couple of cars that have crashed, and like within a few seconds you see a lot more cars, and then you see, you see the sign, no gas, which really sucks for Rick because he was hoping for gas. Like, he was especially banking on some helium. He can't speak highly enough of it. And this little girl who picks up the what was it, like a teddy bear? I forget. That was also great. Just the fact that the camera captures. Yeah, there were people here. That's another thing. When you have stuff like this, just the leftovers of people, you have to be careful that it doesn't just feel like set dressing, because essentially, in reality, it's set dressing. This is not that people actually lived there for a while and then left some stuff behind, but it has to look like that. You got to be careful that it doesn't look constructed. And these couple of things, even just the detail that there were kids here, makes it so much more tragic. And then you see one of these kids, which also, like, yeah, clearly there's still some left in the brain. Later on, we see, the mother walker, try to open the door, because she remembers, and Rick has no choice but to shoot this little girl, which also just fantastic. Just I already mentioned teeth, but yeah, just, and the blood and the face, the eyes, the really solid acting by her as well. Like, it's one of those things. Like, I've seen enough behind the scenes on horror stuff like this to know, if you're casting for something like this, you might be lucky and find like an 8-year-old girl who actually would love to play evil. Let's see. Off the top of my head, there is 30 Days of Night and the first Silent Hill movie. Both of them. There's behind the scenes stuff of the kid being like, it was so cool. It's just, yeah. Right, and in Zombieland, Abigail Breslin showed a real fascination with, I guess it's a spoiler to say exactly what actor, but one of the other actors was playing a zombie, and, Abigail was like, looking at the makeup being applied, and apparently also really wanted to play a zombie, herself. I'm not going to give away, in case you haven't watched one of the Zombieland movies, I'm not going to give away whether or not she gets to play a zombie. But yeah, let's see. I love the realism, like so many little details that just, yeah, I don't know if I want to do them in chronological. I'll just, a couple of things that I thought, that I especially noted. You have the, let's see, the thing with, crap, what was the, Yeah, yeah, one thing when Rick takes a bat to take out a walker, he has like a facial, yeah, face guard thing, so that he doesn't get any of the blood in his mouth or nose, and you have the thing with the radio. 100% accurate. If you don't know exactly what you're doing with one of those kinds of radios, yeah, it is, you know, you're not you might be able to hear what the other person's saying, but you might not be able to respond. I actually know someone who had a situation exactly like that. Needing to use a radio and needing help from someone who knew more about the radio to be able to, you know, I guess not respond to that situation, but yeah, use the radio properly. And I can see how Shane wouldn't have been able to tell every single one of them. They do have a lot of things to deal with, and they aren't. I can imagine this is not something that happens all the time because, it's been a while, and radios, like, if it wasn't for Rick being able to get a radio from the sheriff's department, yeah, who else is gonna get a radio? By this point, and the echo of the gun in the tank there at the end, also really accurate. I'm not speaking from experience, but yeah, a tiny confined space, and I believe also metal, can really increase echo. It's not the first time that he's fired a gun, but it's the first time he's fired a gun in such a tiny metal enclosed area. So yeah, I actually knew a guy once. He claimed that he invented echoes, and I was like, do you hear yourself? So, gonna do some chronological stuff. So, gonna skip all the way back to. I've said what I really needed to about the in media res opening. So let's go back to the part before that. So when the two of them are talking in the cop car, we get this introduction of a theme throughout the episode. I don't know yet if it's gonna, be a thing for more of the show, but basically, we're seeing that there are sometimes conflicts between men and women who are in romantic relationships, and the women are very caring, and they try to take care of mental health. You have that thing about leaving the light on, wanting to take pictures with, and stuff like things that have been demonstrated to improve one's mental health. And then you have men who appreciate the women, and are trying to do right, and be a good partner, and sometimes struggling, for example, with communication, and this, that's as accurate to. There's a lot of people in real life where that is how it works out. I think that does bring us to, very, very tense with the car chase and the shootout, and Rick is shot, and that's actually why he ends up not being present during the early days of the zombie apocalypse. And now he feels like he let down his family. He should have been more careful, not gotten shot, been there to help protect them. That is something that we men are told at a young age. The most important thing that we, for us to do in this world is to protect our family. And let's see, what's the other thing with that? Yeah, at first he's okay for that first bullet he took, and he's like, don't ever tell Lori about this. And then he gets hit again, and I just want there to be like an outtake, the blooper reel, where Shane goes, I think we're gonna have a difficult time keeping this second gunshot wound from her. GSW, that's what they call it. And, yeah, he ends up in hospital. And I really appreciate the choice of, crap, I think they call it frame skipping. It's like, it's this POV shot, and he's clearly slightly out of it, understandably so, and Shane is there, like, trying to help in any way he can, bringing flowers and this thing, and, he's like, don't worry, Rick, you're gonna get back on your feet. You might be part machine, but you'll still be part man, and you will be the future of law enforcement. And, Rick starts talking about the flowers, and, clearly he thinks that it's been like a few seconds, and it becomes clear it's been a while. Love the little bit of visual storytelling. You don't need to have Rick say out loud, I guess it was longer than I thought it was. No, we can just see, oh, the flowers have wilted. That doesn't happen in just a few seconds. So, I'm not a flower expert, and I'm not some florologist or something here, but I'm pretty sure it takes at least a little bit longer than that, and he sees the watch, and, clearly that clock is broken, which means there's a fairly small chance that it is showing the accurate time. It would have to be one of those 2 times a day. And he's, of course, like, where is Shane? Which, 100%, if I find myself in the zombie apocalypse, first thing I'm going to want is the Punisher by my side. And, on account of the clock being broken, it is unclear exactly what time it is, but I think I have an idea of the date. If I knew exactly what day he got shot, I think I can say with confidence, this is 28 days later. To be clear, I'm not saying that this is like a ripoff or something. I think both, having, even just in this one episode, having not watched past this episode yet, this show is already doing things that are very different from what 28 Days Later did. And I love both. I'm not saying, and let's see. I do think it does help show one of the differences between English media and American media, that, where in that, yeah, we see his nethers. I'm not saying I need to see Rick's Deputy Johnson. I'm just saying, clearly in that movie, it was there to underline how vulnerable he is. And they're somewhat doing that in that Rick spends a little time barefoot. Actually, when he was walking across glass in the hospital hallway, I was like, be careful, don't John McClane your feet. And yeah, really tense when he approaches the door and it just says, dead inside, don't open. And, zombie arms come out. I don't know what I was expecting. Seriously, though, amazing bit. I'm so glad. I was sitting there thinking, please don't let the door open. Because it's so much creepier just knowing that this door, thankfully blocked and locked. This room is full of walkers. Because, there's a couple of possible explanations. Maybe they just didn't quite have the nerve. Maybe they didn't, have time, regardless of the exact reason why they didn't decapitate these. Because I feel like they must have known that that they might reanimate, because otherwise, why would you lock the door to a room of dead people? That's not really a thing. That's not something we do currently for, like, burial kind of, that feels like it's there because they figured that, also, why write, dead inside, don't open, if you're not worried about something, like, it doesn't feel like they're just saying, it would be upsetting. They're saying it would be dangerous, And I think that does get us nicely to when he meets the kid and the kid's dad, and yeah, I will say at first I wasn't really sure. I think they did a really great job there. You're not really sure which of these are zombies. Are all of them zombies? Because the yeah, and yeah, the kid hits Rick because at this point he's kind of used to, he figures these are probably all walkers, and the guy shoots the one zombie that there was there, and walks up and says, "I will shoot you. Say something, please." And that's just one of the places where I could tell the people making this are fellow fans of George A. Romero and the Trilogy of the Dead. I am aware there's more than 3 movies in that series. I'm not the biggest fan of the ones that came after those first 3. And yes, I am 100% going to do videos on those first 3 movies. It's just a matter of time. I am definitely going to. But yeah, that part near the end where they're digging into that poor horse, you know, on its way to the glue factory and everything, and yeah, that felt very reminiscent of the disembowelings of some of the, you know, yeah, some of George A. Romero's zombie movies. And that's also something this felt a bit like, the fact that we're not seeing the very start of the zombie apocalypse feels like they skipped past Night of the Living Dead straight to dawn, or maybe even day. And I love all 3 of them, but I will say, it's one of those series that trilogy started strong and in some ways just got better and better. And in some ways, I do think Day of the Dead is the best of the 3. But yeah, they're all amazing. And I think that does... Yeah, a lot of great stuff with Rick, with the 2... these things about how, this used to be somebody else's house, and just, yeah, making do in the, in this dystopian reality. And yeah, details like how they covered, they make sure that you can't really see inside the house from the outside. And let's see, yeah, the detail about, they've seen someone turn, and then it's revealed that was the boy's mother. Just, yeah, I love the little parenting moments. The thing with, he corrects how the kid talks. He says, he makes the kid thank Rick for, yeah, just these little... Also, really, really charming when they're all just enjoying getting a shower. It is one of those things when you don't have access to something like that in a long time, getting access to it again is really just, yeah, such a relief, And I think it is accurate that a sheriff's department would have a separate thing, as like, that means that even if the rest of the town loses power and these kinds of things, they still have it at the sheriff's department, which can be of tactical importance. Now, let's see, I think... Right, I appreciate we get, a good amount, without it feeling like we're just receiving a load of exposition. We get, the thing about let's see, they explain about bites and blood transmission, and, or was the blood, yeah, anyway, by the end of the episode, I felt like blood transmission is definitely a thing. It's not just bites. And we have I guess it could have been that he was worried about drool or spit getting for the face mask. Anyway, there's that. There is the thing about, you die. Let's see. There's the fever. You die, and then you come back. These couple of things. it's good to know for later, and it also really paints a picture. You know, not all zombie media works quite like that, but it is a very compelling way for it to work. I think that pretty much gets us to... Yeah, I really appreciate this thing of, you know, he manages to get all these guns from the sheriff's department, and we have this thing about, you know, the guy and his kid, they also want to leave, but they're going to start with some target practice and this thing. And you have that thing about, you know, the line, I love the wording, have you thought about moving on? And then the response, we're working on it, or we're not quite ready, something like that. Because, like, the literal, you could easily interpret it as him saying, you know, it's dangerous to go outside, take this, and maybe also leave town. But it could also mean, you know, the reason you haven't left is because your wife is out there, isn't it? You know, and the fact that, you know, he really struggles, you know, it looks like, you know, is he really going to shoot her? And just, yeah, really, really tense. And let's see, we have the thing with... Yeah, I think that does get us nicely to... Yeah, so the radio... What is going on with that radio? You know, he drives and uses it, doesn't really get a response. And, you know, Shane gets on, but by then it seems like, you know, maybe he's a little too far away from there or something like that. And we get the detail about, you know, there should be a sign warning people not to take that path. You know, which, again, right there, like, I understand why Shane is saying no to that. But clearly, yeah, it is necessary to get people not to take that route, you know, and it's a great bit of foreboding because we're like, what is in there? You know, why is it so wrong for him to take that? And we find out, you know, he effed around and yeah. Let's see, I think, right, and the little sweet moment between the see, technically they're not identified in the episode, but I feel like I'm pretty sure I know who. I don't think I've already said their names, because yeah, I don't think I'm going to say exactly their names, but the woman and her kid that Shane talked to, you know. Wait, did I? Yeah, my memory. I think I might have actually already said her name, but I guess I feel like it's not a huge spoiler. You can kind of deduce it anyway. Yes, you know, she... What was I... Where was I going with that? Right, her little moment with the boy. You know, just, you know, right before the... You know, yeah, the last time we see the two of them, it was a sweet little moment. Her, like... Because he's like, where, you know, what's going on? Is everything okay? Kind of thing. And this, you know, yeah, he's worried that she's going to leave and he's going to be alone. And let's see. Yeah. I think that does get us nice. So yes, once Rick arrives, you know, yeah, he's still trying to find gas. You know, can't really work the car that the couple left, and there's also, you know, what was it, like, may God forgive us or something like that, and they, yeah, you know, suicided in order to not, you know, yeah, and I really appreciate they fit in a lot of really tragic, you know, stuff that happened off screen in this one episode without it feeling like over, you know, excessive. Just like, I don't know, Frank Darabont. I think this is actually the first time I see something that he makes that isn't a Stephen King adaptation. And yeah, unsurprisingly, he's incredible in working on this as well as the Stephen King adaptations, you know, just incredibly talented. he really has a knack for, you know, making it the right amount. Like, yeah. Let's see. And yeah, you know, Rick finds the horse, and I am not an expert on the horses, but I believe it is fairly accurate, you know, because he's being very non-threatening to it, and it is a horse that is used to people. So, yeah, I believe the way he deals with it is how you're supposed to get a horse to work with you, you know. And yeah, I mean, the horse would like to get out of there. You know, who knows how long it's been. It's long enough. Like the two dead people inside have drawn a lot of flies. You know, so it, yeah, I forget. I looked that up once out of curiosity, but I forget exactly how long it takes to draw quite that many flies. But yeah, you know, it didn't happen 5 seconds ago. You know, so the horse. And actually, yeah, before that, the horse was probably also stuck in there for a while before they decided to suicide. So, yeah, you know, the horse is happy to get a little bit of get out of the enclosure, you know. And let's see, then we have the yeah, once it does get a little bit out, you know, it gets like really into and starts like galloping, you know, because it's so happy to be out. And yeah, I it was really devastating seeing, you know, I joked about it earlier, but seeing the horse be killed by all these walkers, just, yeah, really, yeah. And it was a good detail also. The walkers are actually more interested in the horse than in Rick, because they're hungry and there's more meat on the horse. Like, that's, yeah, makes sense. They don't really care exactly what they eat necessarily. Just, you know, more meat is, yeah. And holy crap, there was a lot. Like dozens, maybe 100 walkers within a small area. Yeah, just holy crap. And I thought non-zombie traffic was bad. And yeah, you know, despite him getting all these guns, he drops them, and now they're there, you know, now he's down to just, you know, by the end of the episode, let's see, the revolver is empty. Not sure he has any extra bullets for it. He's got the seemingly, there's, yeah, certainly some bullets. I'm not sure if it's a full clip. The gun he takes off the, you know, the guy in the tank, who honestly, like, you know, it's kind of rude to just take something that belongs to someone. And the guy does also seem like, well, dude, but I feel like they could probably work out a trade. Like, Rick gets the gun, and, you know, the guy gets to take a bite. And let's see. Yeah. I did briefly think he was gonna like man the machine gun when he gets out, but he's a little too slow. That they're, you know, yeah, the walkers are surrounding so he, you know, yeah. And then we get the thing with the radio. Hey, dumbass, is it cozy in there in the tank? And it's just, yeah, great hook. I am really stoked to find out, you know, because I feel like he's definitely going to need help, but clearly there is someone there who might be able to help. And yeah, that was also a thing. I really appreciate all the hints at military activity. That, you know, it makes a lot of sense that the military would be used to try to stop the zombie apocalypse. And it's pretty clear, like, certainly in this area, they did not quite succeed in doing that. I am not going to read aloud a ton of there's a bunch of stuff on the IMDb trivia for this episode. I skimmed it, and yeah, a lot of interesting things in there. I don't really have anything to add to them. I am going to try to do another episode tomorrow, and I intend to do the entire season and then a season of the MCU show that I got to, then back to this, then back to MCU, on and off, one season of each until, so yeah. And yeah, really, really love this. So yeah, hope you will join me. Right, there will be a link in the description box to a playlist that, once there's more than one episode, will hold, more than one episode. And I think that is all that I have to say about that. Yeah. Really, really, yeah. Loving the show so far. And right, at one point, the character portrayed by Sarah Wayne Callies, says, we got to warn people away from that, that interstate or something like that. The Fox River 8 are still out there.